Bitcoin sustainable as the power consumption for each individual Bitcoin increases every halving cycle?
Efficiency increases, so there might be the S9, which there are hundreds of thousands out on the market right now, but they use 1,300 watts and only have, I think, 14 terahash, compared to, right now the S19 is 110 terahash and 3,000 watts. So the efficiency has gotten much better. So as the halvenings happen and less Bitcoin is produced for each block, then these old machines will become obsolete, which could be another problem. Hopefully some sort of modularity comes out where you can upgrade your machines. But I think it is sustainable because it's just going to be a race to the top, and old machines, inefficient machines, will become obsolete.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Yes. One point about that is that Bitcoin itself takes about 60% of all the energy consumption in the crypto market, using round numbers, and some of that we have to consider is the source of the energy. The sun is such a immense valuable energy, or hydroelectric power. Brazil operates majority in hydroelectric power, that does Paraguay. And the reason why I say this is that you have scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, the different sourcings of renewable energy. And renewable energy is something you can use, and you have unlimited amount of it from the sun, but it still uses other emissions to maintain the energy that's being produced. So the burning of fuel does create a lot more emissions, and depending on how you source your fuel and how you calculate your emissions, that's the goal to achieving a sustainable future, is to have precise measurements and also have the right sources, because you can have the worst source but have the best measurement and be way more efficient than a renewable source with poor measurement.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the measurement and new technology is benefiting everything. But of course, we need to look at what's really important, and that's definitely the source and the location. We talk about a decentralized network. We don't have to forget that. And that means we also definitely need to look into the locations first, because the location will give us the most benefit. And on top of that, we are very deep into testing out different scenarios. We are not just plugging in air-cooled miners for whatever reason. We really test it. We have engineers running and tuning the miners, and also different market conditions. We see that the miner can run undercloaked, overcloaked, and stuff like that. And all of that kind of have to fit together, and that makes us sustainable in the future.
Yes.
Thank you so much. The next question is, how can we ensure that the rapid growth of Bitcoin network does not lead to an unsustainable increase in the energy consumption?
Well, I wouldn't do it that way around. I would say this is important, but what Bitcoin does is it innovates a lot, and in our world. That means we kind of think now. I can give you an example. Why are we in Paraguay, and how this works? I mean, we didn't look into these energy sources. We didn't see that before Bitcoin. So Bitcoin helped us to go into that market and set everything up, but for a sustainable reason, because we give a lot of social credits and stuff like that to the country back, and this makes a cycle. And I think from that point of view, we can level up infrastructure. I come from a Web 2 background, infrastructure and stuff like that, and we can, on top of Bitcoin infrastructure, we can level up. And that's basically how I would say, and that benefits all other economic growth.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you mentioned location being very important, and there are several factors in selecting a location. First of all, refrigeration is a main factor to be considered in emission factors. Also, you want to look at water pollution that you're causing by your mining facilities. And the reason why I say this is that a lot of mines now, the largest ones in the world, are housed in cold climates. But there are drawbacks to being in colder climates because you have less exposure to the sun or less moving water in certain regions. So looking for the right location is a combination of various factors that it may not be one solution, one size fits all. And it's really, to me at least, going back to measurement, understanding your location, understanding your sources, and working with the environment rather than trying to manufacture something that shouldn't really exist. That's what sustainability is to me.
I completely agree. Location is key. I think we'll slowly over time just find the most sustainable, best for the environment locations. And I mean, going to the sustainability of the network in general, I mean, as the halvening happens and the more efficient miners come out, it will increase the amount of usage, but I think there's a peak to this. I mean, it's going to be an industrial it's going to be an industrial thing. It's going to be a lot harder to mine at home, or maybe it'll be a small machine that does with just very efficient machine that does very little wattage. But yeah, I mean, location is key. It's just going to be bigger and bigger industry and more sustainable locations. So I agree with everything.
Yeah. And one thing I would like to add is that we decentralize economy that way. That's basically, you talked about mining at home. And I think that is a mind shift and paradigm shift we are doing with Bitcoin. So I think, yeah, you have to consider that.
All right, thank you. All right, we have time for one more question. So the last one is, what are some potential solutions for addressing the challenges that we've discussed? How can we work towards overcoming these obstacles and move towards a more sustainable future?
I think the big one is government. I mean, obviously the U.S. government is a little afraid of what Bitcoin could do to the dollar. They have control to be able to print as many dollars as they want, and that deflationary, inflationary, they sort of have full control over it. Bitcoin, nobody has control over it. It's decentralized, so might be afraid of it, but I think it's advantageous for governments to embrace it. And it's never going to be the U.S. dollar. It's not going to be a stable. Well, I mean, it'll be stable, but not many people are going to be buying coffees with Bitcoin, at least not for a long period of time. So I think having governments that support it and see it as a digital gold or a ETF style investment, I think is the first step to really getting all these sustainability goals in place and everybody on the same page about Bitcoin.
That's interesting because you mentioned local government, and the Greenhouse Gas Protocol is one of those bodies that measure emission factors in different countries and different companies. And Bitcoin is estimated to produce about 50 megatons of CO2 per year, which is the amount relative to a small country. And it's important to also understand the value of that emission factor, that where the economy is taking. So the foundation of what we're putting into the atmosphere in Bitcoin is going to a valuable cause because fundamentally you're allowing the network to work, and that's cutting greenhouse gases, cutting paper trails, and different types of failed technology sensors that are out there today. And this revolution does cause waste. We understand that. But how can we measure that with credits, exchanges where you can buy Scope 3 credits to become net neutral despite of how much you are inputting, just so that you can have a positive outcome that's better than what we're doing today?
Yeah, thank you. I think regulation, you mentioned regulations earlier, is a big part, of course. But you have to understand that in the future, I think there are different strategies. Some countries are very rich in terms of resources. Sometimes countries are very good in economy, industry, and stuff like that. So we will see diversifying, decentralization of these topics, and definitely Paraguay is one which has on their agenda energy, of course, because we are rich of energy and resources in that term. So I would see it like a little bit differentiated, and sometimes if the industry is very strong in one area, okay. Then maybe you have to migrate to another country and where it's more on the agenda. So we will see that how everything is figuring out, and I think the most important thing is education. So let go, let change, and that's very important.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much. And I think that concludes the conversation. I just wanted to say to each one of you gentlemen, thank you so much again for being here and kicking us off with an amazing conversation. So yeah, give it up for our panelists.
Thank you.